Hi, good morning. I'm Carin. I'm a clinical social worker logotherapist. I've worked in the field of grief, loss and bereavement for many years, with my experience being that at hospice and then in private practice working with children, adolescents and families and adults across the lifespan, but main area being that of grief, loss and bereavement. I often think of little Jane, who says, "Dear God, instead of having to let people die and making new ones, why don't you just keep the ones that you have now?" And I think that there's a little bit of Jane in each of us as we navigate the space of grief, loss and bereavement. It's something that is so much a part of our human condition. Death is an inevitable part of life. And so often we live in what's called a grief illiterate society, where very often we don't really have the language and the tools to navigate grief. We often find that people, we read books on other conditions and we might read books on parenting, but it's only really when one has experienced the loss of a loved one that we pick up a book on death and dying. My hope is that after today we can almost demystify the field of grief and loss and equip professionals and caring professionals with the skills and the tools that we need to navigate this space with our clients and the families that we work with. It's an interesting one, grief and loss, because it's universal. It's not a them and us, it's a we. And I think that all of us together and collectively go through grief at some point in our lifetime. It's also such a necessary, as said, part of the work that we do is because grief is happening to people, especially right now, so much of the time. And even if it's not loss through death, what we're really seeing is that people's response to the current pandemic is also about grief. It's that sense of what are we feeling right now, and very often the label of that is grief. Grief is not a problem to be fixed. We can't fix a person, we can't fix grief. But as professionals in helping and caring people, what we can do is navigate that space with people to help them to better integrate that loss into their lives, so as to help people to really become more functional in their grief and in their trauma. The metaphor I often use is that of snakes and ladders, and even the therapeutic process takes that kind of momentum with our patients, in that we do navigate from 0 to 100, but as we do so, we are climbing ladders and sliding down snakes. And that's often the grief trajectory of the work that we do with our clients. Most importantly, though, is working in the space of grief takes such courage. It takes incredible courage to be able to sit in a place that is dark, that is raw, and that sometimes feels quite unfixable. And I really hope that after today's sharing of information, we feel more equipped and more empowered to sit in that place without feeling solely responsible for having to take that person or family out of that place.